Hello there, fellow humans, and today I'm going to have a look at 5 tier 10 tanks that you should definitely own, and I'll order them based on how easy they are to play. So, as always, don't forget to like and subscribe, and thank you to my channel members for support. And the first one that you should get, and obviously the one that's the easiest to play, is the E100. Very strong armor. All you have to do is angle it just like that, put the gun over the front track wheel. Ideally, you don't want to have a team that does what they just did, so we're just going to have to skip forward and we go to where the stupidity ends, essentially. And if you're the enemy team in this situation, you have the good side of the map. The worst thing you can do is trying to push back into the bad side, because that's exactly what's happening to them right now. You know, our team's spread out quite a lot. However, they're now stuck in our spawn and going back towards the side that you don't want to be on. And that's exactly what's happening. And the M6Yo is currently unaware that he's currently alive. Which, I feel ya, buddy, but unfortunately that's not how it works. Now, why is the E100 a tank that you should definitely get? Now, first of all, obviously, it's very easy to play, which means it's a nice, good entry into the game at tier 10. Because obviously, everyone's going to suck when you first start the game. So ideally, you want to pick a tank that's somewhat easy to play and very forgiving. And the E100 is just that. You got 640 alpha damage, you got good penetration, you got HE as well if you happen to need it, and you do have a lot of safety. The turret armor got buffed a couple of updates ago as well, so now it's a lot harder to pen the turret as well. Now the biggest downside of this tank is obviously its mobility, so you have to sort of place it wisely and know where to put it. That's the only really downside with this vehicle. However, it's just about fast enough to get it where it needs to be, so it's not really that big of a problem, as long as you don't, again, just push the absolute bad side of a map. You know, you go to the bad parts, which you shouldn't do. And I think I made plenty of videos about that. I made a video about how to go on every single map, so check that out as well if you haven't already. And now at this point, 4 versus 3. I'm very much hard carrying here, which is what you have to do when you see a team like this. The second I see a team go to city or go to this side of the map, I see, okay, I either have to carry this or it's probably going to be lost. And that's a thing that you got to get used to, essentially, is predict the skill of your team while seeing what they're doing, right? Because if you know what you're playing with, you can see, can I rely on them or do I have to play off them? As in, do I use their hit points for my damage? At this point, the standard B has very much expired, running into a Panzer E100 and 4 versus 1 with only the Yo left alive, which is very nice. And ideally, the mistake the enemy team made here is they went back to the bad side, and you don't want to do that. However, you definitely want to get the E100, and what you also definitely want to get is the 113. Now, the i7 may sound like a reasonable choice. However, the 113 is just that much more fun. You have 1,000 more DPM. You do have slightly less alpha damage. You don't really quite have the armor. However, it is still strong enough to bounce quite a lot of shots, especially if you angle it properly. Now, the 113 is very much a long boy, so that is something you're going to have to watch out for. Obviously, don't fight 5 enemies at the same time. I think that should be obvious to anyone at this point, but unfortunately it seems not to be. And this vehicle really is good at just absolute DPM destruction, and it's pretty much the highest DPM tier 10 heavy tank in the game, which means you can out DPM some medium tanks, if not most of them, which is obviously very great. And it's not really the tank that you want to primarily just get stuck in and jump straight at the enemy. However, in a situation like this, I can use the DPM. That VK does not have a chance. Obviously, if that VK will come face hug me, that would be a very bad misplay on my side. I have the better mobility, the VK is slower, and that's the only thing the VK is good at, and that's face hugging. So you don't want to have that happen. And the T100, I don't know, do you never look around, people? Like, just look at what's going around you. That's so damn easy. Just look what's happening around you. Not just in game, but also in real life. Look what's going on, because that way you'll have a lot more awareness and you'll play a lot better. And you can do very well in a vehicle like this. As you can see, armor, it's not the greatest. However, it does work in most cases, which is very nice. And at this point, there's only 3 enemies left, because that's what you get when you don't win. you lose. And at this point, all there is left is to just clean up the 2 tank destroyers and the MX-50B, which is sitting in the back of the map, camping. If you want to camp, then it is more ideal to pick a tank destroyer, right? Because if you want to do a certain thing in the game, then it's easier to pick a tank that can already do that than to try and adapt a tank that can't do that to what you want it to do, right? So don't do that. Pick a tank that fits your playstyle, and that is one that fits mine very well, is the T57 Heavy, which is an absolute monster of a vehicle if played correctly. 1,200 clip damage, which is quite a lot, which means you only need 3 clips to do almost 4,000 damage. Think of that. So at this point, this thing is very strong. However, it is a bit harder to play than a E100 or 113, but it is definitely a must-have tier 10 at this point. And if we look at the minimap again, sometimes you have something on your team that isn't very intelligent. However, it does happen, and the 57 Heavy excels very well if it's not the main focus, just like this one. You know, I'm sitting here, I'm doing free damage, they can't do anything about that. The Leopard, again, where's your awareness, Leopard? Think what you're gonna do, what's going on. At this point, the enemy have actually done quite well, and have taken out 2 of the players in our team, and now the other Leopard is like, nah, I don't need to bother. I'm just gonna push, and that's what he is. And no, I know that the 57 Heavy is there, but I will re-peek anyway and do it for the 3rd time. So how do you get good at blitz? I don't know, but that's not it. However, the T57 Heavy is very good. I can definitely recommend getting this thing. Now, it has pretty much everything. It has an absolutely excellent gun. And it has solid enough mobility and armor to complement said gun. And at this point, you know, again, awareness. What's going on? If I stay there, I die. However, if I get out of that situation, I can then reload and fight them on my terms, ideally. Because the more you control the fight, the more you can decide the fight in your direction, right? If I stay out there, I get pushed by 3 tanks, I die. That's not it. Now at this point, I go back into the city. If you're in a situation where they have more tanks, then it is always very important to take out the low HP ones. Now that little trick works as follows. You just fire just as you're about to not have a shot anymore. It's very hard to pull off, and it really only works on PC from my experience, but try it anyway. It takes a bit of practice, but it works most of the time if you can time it correctly. And now at this point, Type 71, again, what are you doing? You know I'm here. And then he just pushes forward and gets himself annihilated. And now the 57 Heavy is pushing me, and that's 5,000 damage for me just right there. And I haven't really done anything besides, well, actually wait for the enemies to run into my gun, which is exactly what this tank is about, and which makes it so amazing. Now here, I can't clip the enemy 57 Heavy, which is not great. However, I know that the WT is back there, which means I peek him on purpose to sort of stop him, because if I retreat, he's going to run after me. However, if I peek, he's going to stay, the WT has a shot, and it's very easy to get rid of him. Awareness. Know what you're doing. Like an E50M. That's what you're doing. Because the E50M is the best medium tank at tier 10 that you can pick up. Now, there are no tank destroyers on the list, because I don't care about tank destroyers, and I don't think you should get any. But if you want any, then maybe, just don't get any. No, don't bother. Anyway, E50M is an amazing vehicle. Why? It can do absolutely everything. It can even ram enemies. Now, I wouldn't ram a mouse with it. However, it is pretty much good at anything. And now what you want, like here, again, is you want map control. We can see 3 of our teammates are in the city. They're doing the no-no. However, the entire enemy team is doing the no-no, which means we can take the map control. We can surround them, and that is always very good. Because if you can fire at them from 2 sides, you can only angle your tank towards one side. You know, so if you get shot by 2 sides, that doesn't help. Which is why, if you're in a 1vx situation, if you're trying to clutch, always have all the enemies in front of you. Never rush, always disengage, play from the back, get 1v1s, and that's how you win. Clutch is a lot easier. You know, if you rush in, that's not how it works. So, at this point, the enemies are very much surrounded. And the IS-4 is deciding like, you know what, I'm gonna fight you. He's not doing it very intelligently though, like he's trying to somewhat angle, but the problem with the IS-4 is if you have a very smart player on the other side of the vehicle, then you can always get penned in either the lower plate or the side because of the way the tank is angled. So, not the greatest of idea, and also the miserable lower roll right there, which happens. At this point, it's 5v5, and the Yo doesn't want to die, which is pretty much understandable. And of course, the city players are dead, to the surprise of no one. Because here's the thing, more stupid beats less stupid. If they have 7 people that go to this side and you have 2, they're more likely to win because 7 beats 2. Duh. And I beat Object 268. E50M, definitely a great tank, absolutely amazing, can do everything, definitely worth picking up. However, be aware, the Panther 2 is absolutely horrible. And now, we started with the easiest, and now we go to the hardest, and that is the Leopard 1, which is a tank that requires a lot of skill to pull off, because any mistake that you make will result in immediate penetration in 95% of cases with this tank. Unless you bounce off the extreme angles that this tank can sometimes present, which any tank can do, really. I mean, you can bounce off a Batchat, you can bounce off a Leopard, it depends on the angle of the armor. And again, awareness, know what's going on around you, look at the minimap, look around. Now, if you're playing on a phone, that is a lot harder because you have a lot less room to see things and your fingers are blocking half of it. That's why I wouldn't want to play this game on a phone. Just saying. However, if you are, I get that that can be quite a bit harder than if you have a massive screen in front of your face. However, still try to have as much awareness as possible, because the more you see, the better you'll do. There's no secret to Blitz, to how to get good. There is nothing. I mean, if you want me to make a video like that of, you know, easy steps how to get good, it's just 3 things. Practice, like repeat what you're doing, find what you're doing wrong while repeating it, and then doing it better. That's it. So that's why, for example, we have camping heavy tanks still, because they're repeating it, but they're not learning. And with the Leopard 1, the repetition is very simple. You don't get shot, because if you get shot, it ends like that, like the enemy Leopard. And this vehicle is very much difficult to play, so I only recommend this thing to players that are very good at the game already. And if you think you're already very good, try out the Leopard and see how well it goes. And obviously have fun while doing it, because that's the most important thing anyway. Have fun. If you're not having fun, why are you doing it? Now, at this point, 3k damage, taking a single shot of damage, it's not that hard. And aiming is, though, sometimes. So aim your shots, ideally. But anyway, that's the 5 tanks that I definitely would recommend everyone to have in World of Tanks Blitz. What would you pick? What are your 5 tanks that you definitely want to have? If you don't already have them, what would you want? Put it in the comments. And thank you very much for watching.